That day, it was like 40-mile-per-hour winds. Monumental difference, terrifying, scary, run for your life. I was just in a place where I couldn't even picture him going over a pole. You know you're scared and your heart rate is at 195. Good morning, everybody. It was a good day. Welcome to my channel. So this is a little bit of a different video than what you guys are used to because I normally just post shorts. I've posted like a full-length like horse show vlog in the past. But a couple of you guys have been asking for updates on Guinness and his training. Guinness is my horse if you didn't know. And because we've been going through a little situation recently, and I'm sure most of you kind of already know like the basic details. In this video I'm kind of gonna go from like start to finish, explain what happened, explain like how we're working through it, what we've been doing, how our progress has been going. So yeah, grab a coffee like I have here, grab a snack, and buckle up because it's gonna be a great video. So basically the story starts around May or like April, May, I think it was around somewhere in that area, and we were going to Guinness's first horse show, and because he was being really good and we were excited, and it was the first horse show of the season of the shows we do, which is Hunter. It's just like a schooling show. But so the day before we brought him to the showgrounds to kind of like get him used to it, make sure he remembers it so he won't be spooky, and we brought him there, and that day it was like 40-mile-per-hour winds. It was ridiculously windy, and he was like all things considered pretty good. But I remember we were trying to do the jumps to warm up for the next day when we were going to show those jumps, and he was just like really scared because of the wind and like the plants that were in the jumps were moving and stuff, but he was at least going over them fine like he had been in the past. But then that day we were going past the jump, we were going over it, and one of the plants that was next to the jump fell down, and he spooked. He jumped to the side and I fell off, but like it was just like a spook. He didn't do anything bad, and I thought that was going to be the end of it. So I got back on, we kept on trying, but he was like not having it, so we ended that ride there. Okay, so the next day it was a horse show, and we brought him. This was the show actually that I have the vlog on, so if you want to go check that out, that'll be there. We brought him, and he was terrified of the jumps. Like, he went over them eventually, but he would just like walk like 10 feet for the jumps. He would like, I'd have to be really kicking him, be backing up, spinning in circles. And then at one jump he did spook or like stop right in front of it, and I fell off. But it was just a bad show day for the jumps. Like, he did well on the flat, but for the jumps he was just not having it. So this is where this whole thing started. Since then, it has been, what, 3 months? Three, almost 4 months of Guinness being absolutely terrified of the poles. Also, sorry, side note, if I'm like looking back and forth from my camera to me, because I'm filming on my iPad because my phone doesn't have storage. So I'm like, I don't know, sorry about that. Anyway, so that kid created a journey for me that has been very hard to remain patient during, because I have been really working to try to get him over this fear for so long, and it just feels like he's not getting any better. So I can insert the few clips I have of like him being like a butt and not wanting to do anything, but what he does is, so I remember the first like week after the show, he would not step near a pole. Like within 20 feet he would not go near to like a single pole on the ground, no standards, no anything. And it was so weird. We were like, what is happening? Why is he so afraid of this? So I remember like we spent like my first lesson after the show, we spent like 30 minutes trying to get him to walk over a pole, but he would not. He was just backing up, spinning in circles. Literally 30 minutes of consistently trying to get him over this pole, and he would not do it. He was terrified, and it wasn't just him being bad. Like, he was legit shaking. He was snorting. He was like ears like as far forward as you could get, head as high as you could get. He was like trying to bolt because he thought that it was gonna jump out and eat him, like the plant did at the show. So that's where it started. And the next couple lessons after that and rides at home, he would do the same thing. So we started just like walking him over poles in hand, or trying to. Even in hand, it took us maybe 3 weeks to get him to be able to go over a pole. And it was just stupid. Like, no horse has this reaction to a single plant falling down that keeps them traumatized for weeks. It was so weird. But once we finally got him walking in poles over hand, we kept on trying to walk him over it in hand, trot him over it in hand, do a ton of in-hand work just to get him used to the poles. And we did that for about a month. And like in between that, we would like get on, and he was still, some days he would go over the pole, and some days he would just lose his mind about it. So after that, we kept on doing the same thing, but it was almost every day. I would get him out, I would tack him up, I would walk him over some poles in hand, and then I would get on and try to walk him over the poles under saddle. And we got to a point after a month where you're like in hand, he was fine, he was like half asleep walking over the poles like a normal horse would be. And he was like totally fine with it. And then whenever I would get on, maybe 2 minutes later, he thought that they were the scariest things on the planet, and he would not walk over them unless somebody was standing there next to him, leading him over the poles. Because he felt like he needed someone to hold his hand. Like, he was like, okay, well, if this human can go over it, I can go over it too. But he doesn't see it that way when I'm on him. So the only way at that point we were able to get him to walk over a pole is if somebody was next to him, and that was consistent for a couple weeks. So we kept on working on it every single day, walking over the poles, and at this point I was getting really, really fed up with this issue, as one would get when your horse is literally not walking over a single pole on the ground. So I was just like, what else can we do for this? We thought about getting a trainer to like send him to a trainer for like a couple weeks to see if that would help, but it's too expensive. It's not going to end up being worth it in the end, I feel like. We also, one issue that we thought it could be is my saddle, and that's still a possibility because my saddle pinches him a little bit at the withers, and so it could be my saddle, but I really don't think it is. I don't know, I don't think it's the saddle, but the saddle is definitely an issue that I need to get fixed, but I don't think it's the issue that's causing the poles. So I just like debated. I was trying to figure out what could be wrong with him, and we still haven't found it out. So we started giving him magnesium, which is supposed to help calm their minds, kind of make them less spooky, and it helped a little bit. So we got to the point where I could get on. I would have my trainer or my mom walk next to me for the first time going over the poles, and then after that, he would definitely look at them, and like some days he was worse and some days he was better. He would definitely still like arch his back over them, trying to get as far away from the pole as he was going over them as he could. But he would go over them without someone walking next to him. So after we got to there for about a week, we got to a point where we could trot poles, and we could trot a couple poles after someone walked over them next to him. So we're still at a point where he needs to have somebody walk next to him the first time. After that, he will listen to me. He's still scared, but he'll like trust me to bring him over him safely. So after we got to trotting poles, we put up a tiny, tiny cross rail. And this was at a lesson, I believe. And we trotted it. He was like obviously terrified, and it took a lot of light to get him to go over it. But he went over the cross rail, and we were like, oh my gosh, after 2 months, finally, this boy got over a jump. I say jump, like, take that with a grain of salt. It was barely a jump. Like, it was like a cross rail on the first hole. So we put it up a little bit. He jumped it again. Obviously not prettily, but we were just happy that he was jumping it. And then we put it up again. And this time it was a vertical. I think it was a 15-inch vertical, so it was tiny. And we go out to it, and then right at the very last minute, he stops and knocks the whole jump over. Standards, everything, decorations, everything. And he freaks. He like rears up, and he like runs the other direction. I stay on though, but it was a close one. So from there, you know what happened? We went back to ground zero. He went back from being able to trot over poles to being terrified of them, even in hand. So at that point, I was like, oh my gosh, Lord, please give me patience. I am struggling here. I would like cry at night when I thought about how annoyed I was and like how sad I was, because after years of looking for a horse, that's a story for another time, I finally found one that wasn't lame, but now he has this issue. So I was really, really just like torn down, tired, annoyed. But we kept on working at it. And after that jump issue where the whole jump fell down the second time, he recovered quicker. So we got back to the point to trotting poles within maybe a week and a half or 2 weeks, which is much better than 2 months. So even though he went back to ground zero at first, we got back to trotting poles for in a week's time, or a week or 2 weeks. So that was definitely a positive. I need a coffee break. I've been talking for so long. Okay, so then we kept on building him up, and he had those days where he would be terrified of the poles, and he had those days where he would go over them. Just like normal humans, horses have their days, everybody has those days, everybody makes mistakes, Hannah Montana. But we've been still working on it. And now we got to a point where before I get on, I walk him over like a set of 3 or 4 poles. He's good, and then I get on, and we won't need the trainer to walk next to girl. The iPad just fell. It's okay, I caught her. So we got to a point, like I was saying, where if I walked him over it before I got on, we could walk over it without the trainer next to it. And this was like maybe a week or 2 weeks ago, so this is semi-recent. One lesson, I remember he was doing really good with trotting poles. He was like obviously looking at them like Guinness does, but he wasn't like veering away from them, which was good. And then my trainer set up an elevated pole. Now, to Guinness, a pole that is on the ground and then a pole that is maybe 3 inches or 6 inches off the ground, monumental difference, terrifying, scary, run for your life, which is just like really annoying. But so I remember I was not in a very good mental state because I had gotten so used to my horse stopping and not going over it that that's what my body naturally expected. So I would like automatically, whenever we would go over something bigger than a pole on the ground, brace as knowing that he was gonna stop. So I was just in a place where I couldn't even picture him going over a pole, or going over a jump. So I remember when she set up the elevated pole, I was like, okay, I'm not mentally ready to do this because if he freaks out, then my confidence is gonna go down the drain. So I told my sister, she's a little bit older than me, she's been riding a little bit longer than me. I was like, hey, can you come get on my horse? So she came and she got on, and it took maybe 10 minutes to get him to go over it. He was like spinning in circles, backing up as he does. But she finally got him to walk over the elevated pole and then trot over the elevated pole. But it was like a pole and then an elevated pole and then a pole. So that was another scary thing, because if he knocked like the first pole, then he would like freak out over the big pole and maybe hurt himself, which is one of the reasons I was scared. But my sister got him over it. Yay, sister. Go, sister. We love her. And then it was my turn. So I got back on and I was terrified. I looked at my Apple Watch. My heart rate was at 195. You know you're scared when your heart rate is at 195. So I get on and he walks over and then we trot over a little bit. I think we put one side down, so it's like kind of a half elevated pole. So we got over it together. And that is pretty much where we're at now. We can trot over some poles and we can get him to sometimes go over an elevated pole, but he's still scared and he still needs someone to walk over him next to him first, either on ground or while I'm on, and he's still terrified. But when I'm lunging, so sometimes I lunge him over poles, he's totally fine. And when I hand trot him over jumps, he goes over them fine. And I think he just really needs someone to be there next to him until he builds his confidence, because he's so scared. And he just needs his confidence built. I just need my confidence built. So that's where we're at. Thank you for watching this ridiculously long video. I mean, I haven't edited it yet, but I assume it's ridiculously long because I've been talking for like 20 minutes and I need to cut some things out. But thank you for watching. Thank you for supporting my journey. For those of you who asked and care about my journey with Guinness, thank you so much for being a part of my channel. And we just hit 500 the other day, like 3 days after we hit 400. So thank you so much. You guys are the best. I have the best group of supporters and I'm so thankful for each and every one of you. I hope you enjoyed, and I hope I will have better update or like a more positive update to come soon. But yeah, love you. Bye, Pookies.